February 6th, 2023, and we're talking about WWE Raw. Guys, it was a great episode. Some good. Well, no, there was a lot of good, and there was some bad. But there's also some questions that I'm sure you guys are going to have, so make sure you guys tune in. If you guys haven't clicked that like button, please do that, and definitely interact in the chat, because I'm going to pull up your guys' stuff on the screen. Pretty good stuff, though, honestly. I was pretty excited about today's Raw. There was nothing that was too crazy that happened, but we did get a special return in Lita. So that was obviously very interesting. And I'm going to tell you guys what I think is going to happen with that, because that was definitely random, but I definitely think there is a point to that. And, you know, quite honestly, when it comes to WWE Raw just has a lot of continuity. So there were some things that stood out, but of course, a lot of these things might be little things until, you know, in the grand scheme of things, they're little, but then eventually there's going to be a big payoff. And we're going to talk about that. Apparently the music is still playing. Is that still an issue? Thank you guys for pointing that out. I appreciate you guys pointing that out. I got to get used to turning that off when that happens. But nonetheless, we got a lot of comments. Guys, don't forget, if you want to interact with the show, make sure you're chatting in the chat. You will be guaranteed your question or comment on the screen when you leave a super chat. So if you guys want to drop a super chat, definitely feel free to do so. We also have the chat commands in the ticker right here. So make sure you guys check that out as well. So yes, we are talking about Cody Rhodes and Paul Heyman, because that stood out as a very, very, very goated segment. And yes, we are talking about Lita returning to the WWE, because I do believe there are plans to use her in the future. Now, whether that's Elimination Chamber or WWE WrestleMania 39, we're obviously going to talk about that, because a lot of people are kind of guessing right now. And I don't know if any of these guesses sound legit, but I think my prediction is probably the most realistic outcome. My phone is going off. People are interacting with me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Guys, those links are in the description down below. Lots of great things in the chat right now. So let's pull it up. Let's pull up some comments before we start talking about the show. You know, well, first and foremost, Nate says, yeah, good job, Triple H, burying Damage Control even more. And this is actually a very interesting comment, because I don't think that's the case here. I think Lita coming back is random, but it's obviously 3 against 2. So you have Lita and you have Becky Lynch against Damage Control. I don't know if you do that on television. I would assume that you're probably going to plan a match for Elimination Chamber, which is actually a really good idea, in my opinion. I think if you're the WWE and you decide to do a tag team match at Elimination Chamber, that could be really good for Bayley, Damage Control, and of course, Becky Lynch. So who would be the next person to join in that match? Well, if you have Lita and Becky Lynch, I think it makes the most sense to have another returning legend there. And this is a guess. There's no report that I've seen. There's nothing that I've seen being discussed here. But if you're going to bring back Lita, I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if she's willing to return. But, man, I think you got to have Trish Stratus there. I think you got to have Trish Stratus there on WWE Raw. Make her return as well. Use this as a way to set up Elimination Chamber. That right there would be a massive match. A 6-woman tag team match at Elimination Chamber could be absolutely massive for all involved. And I think just by having Damage Control in this match tells you that they're not buried. But then let's say this actually did come to fruition. And again, this is just hypothetical, but if this did come to fruition, then I imagine you can do a singles match between Bayley and Lita at WrestleMania, or Trish Stratus, or whatever route that you want to go. So the cool thing here is this could actually all lead to a really big match at WrestleMania. And Sam Pibboon actually dropped a $4.99 super chat and says, will WWE put Lita and have a match with Bayley at WrestleMania? And I do think this could very well be the case. I think WWE having Lita versus Bayley, it's WrestleMania. We know it's going to be star-studded. You know, Damage Control is expected to go on to face, you know, Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. Put Lita versus Bayley at WrestleMania. Do Lita, Trish Stratus, and Becky Lynch against Damage Control at Elimination Chamber. That match right there can set up that singles match for WrestleMania. I do think that would be a very reasonable prediction. I don't think I'm saying anything that doesn't sound, I don't think I'm saying something that sounds out of pocket. I don't think I'm saying something that sounds out of reach. I don't know if Trish Stratus would be wrestling, but if I was WWE, you had Lita return today. I would have Trish Stratus return next week. And again, this could all be hypothetical. This could be wishful thinking, but that would be the route that I would go if I was WWE, because honestly, you want to have Damage Control in a high profile match to avoid being buried and to avoid feeling like a lesser deal. But of course, this could be a really good outcome for WWE. And I like the idea that WWE had Lita come out tonight. It was random. I didn't expect it. And the good thing is we are on the road to WrestleMania. And by the way, the road to WrestleMania right now is absolutely on fire. WWE's product is absolutely great right now. But again, tonight's episode of Raw wasn't this spectacular episode. There was just a lot of continuity from previous storylines, and they're building slowly but surely. And I think that's the one thing about WWE right now that they're doing really well with is, hey, you're going to watch our show and there's going to be some good moments. But at the end of the day, our show is designed to get you to tune in to the next week and the following week and the following week until you get that big payoff. And we kind of saw that tonight with WWE and the Hurt Business. We saw that tonight with Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley in their segment. We're seeing that with Montez Ford qualifying for Elimination Chamber. There is a lot of things in the works right now, and I feel like we're just waiting for that payoff for things to happen, and that's where WrestleMania comes into play. So, Sam, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Yeah, I would like to see Lita versus Bayley at WrestleMania, but I think the match that makes most sense before we can get there, Trish Stratus, Lita, Becky Lynch versus Damage Control, and that to me would be a really big deal. And I think that's a really good thing for Bayley. That's a really good thing for Damage Control. This would definitely be a matchup that is going to get people invested again in Damage Control. They have to draw heat. And when you bring in Trish Stratus and Lita, both people have really, really good response from the fans. I think this would be really good. And with that being said, too, I want to say, Sam, thank you for your super chat. I appreciate that. Guys, get your super chats in if you want your questions or comments guaranteed on the screen. Tonight on WWE Raw, we did, in fact, see Cody Rhodes and Paul Heyman go face to face. And I honestly believe this was a goated segment. I'm just going to be honest. I felt like this was magical. And the best part about it is, a lot of people are kind of questioning, hey, Sami Zayn or Cody Rhodes, who do you choose? The great thing is the fan response to Cody Rhodes right now is still very good. So people aren't turning on Cody Rhodes. People are loving Cody Rhodes right now, and they're loving Sami Zayn. And I think that's just a really good position for WWE to be in at this time because, this is not a Bryan Danielson type of situation where I genuinely feel like Daniel Bryan was the guy that should have been the guy, right? There was nobody else in contention for that spot several years ago. In this situation, WWE has been doing really good storytelling to the point where, again, I've said it before, I don't think you could be disappointed in the route that they go. And the reason why you can't be disappointed in the route that they go is because everybody has a pretty damn good storyline going into the season of WrestleMania. But this is why it's so incredibly important that WWE nailed this segment with Paul Heyman and Cody Rhodes, and they did. They delivered it. And I think the best part about it is Paul Heyman and Cody Rhodes, they got personal, man. They brought up Dusty Rhodes, and I feel like some people feel like this is a cheap way to get the babyface pop, but Cody Rhodes talking about peeling back the curtain, talking about his father being so incredibly broke, and Paul Heyman was the guy to pretty much help him and save him with ECW. And, this got very personal, and Paul Heyman actually legitimately breaks character. He literally starts getting real tears in his eyes as this is happening. But then that switch happens where he kind of digs into Cody and says, all of these things about NXT with Dusty Rhodes preparing the future of WWE. And he mentions specific names. He puts over people like Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch and Bayley and all of these other people. But then the final name that he says is Roman Reigns. And there was one line specifically that I absolutely loved. And this is when Paul Heyman specifically mentions, hey, my final conversation with your father before he passed away is that he told me you were his favorite son, but Roman Reigns was the son that he wished he had. And that moment right there was incredible. But then it gets even better because Cody Rhodes goes up to Paul Heyman right after that and asks to shake his hand. Paul Heyman is reluctant to do that. Cody Rhodes says now all he wanted was to win a wrestling championship belt, but now people are making this personal. And the minute that happened, the reaction from the crowd, people on social media, people on Discord, people love it. And again, it just goes back to me saying this several times. You cannot make a wrong choice here, whether it's Sami or Cody at WrestleMania. I don't think it really matters. And I think Elimination Chamber is pretty much going to put the Sami Zayn versus Roman Reigns match to end. That's going to put that to death. Like, that whole conversation is going to be dead by Elimination Chamber, because I think we're genuinely going to see the Usos and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn set up that tag team match. And I think once that it's final, I think a lot more people are accepting of that. But this was a really, really good segment. I really feel like WWE delivered something special here. The raw emotion, the crying, the stories of ECW and Dusty Rhodes filming a car commercial, local car commercial, just so he doesn't lose his car. These are the things that WWE is nailing very well. And I think when people are watching WWE Raw tonight, I feel like they have been so incredibly happy to see that WWE is really knocking out some of these segments. And it's not just with Cody Rhodes and Paul Heyman, but it is with the Bloodline, and it is with the Hurt Business and Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar. Little details, man. These little things really start to add up every single week. So when something does happen that is big, the response is typically positive. And that's what I felt like WWE Raw was tonight. It wasn't this, oh my gosh, it's such an incredible episode. Oh man, like, it's not that. It's just that WWE, from a storytelling perspective, has been incredibly spot on. And that's across the board. And I really just have to give WWE their props here, because I was kind of worried that the fans would turn on Cody, man. And this segment was magical. And when you're delivering magical segments like this on television, guess what? People now want to tune in the very next week. And this is why I tell people all the time, storytelling matters. Yes. Can some characters be a little bit over the top? Of course. Can some characters flop? Of course. But if you have an identity, if you have a character, and if you're doing storytelling with these characters, it will get a good response. And we're seeing that a lot with the Triple H era. Guys, this is not something you would have seen from Vince McMahon writing WWE television. You would have not seen it. And I think that is why WWE has been on absolute fire when it comes to things that matter, such as Cody Rhodes and his redemption storyline. And I do stand firm. I tweeted it out. I still stand firm on what I said with my other live stream a few days ago with Omer from Real Take Wrestling. I said, no, Cody should lose at WrestleMania. After seeing tonight's promo, I feel like that redemption storyline of Cody Rhodes being so close to winning the championship and losing, and then you could do another great year of storytelling with Cody's rise to the top. I would rather see that. But the cool thing is WWE can go either route, and I think fans will be happy. What I'm going to say, though, is this is a very unpredictable WrestleMania in terms of the World Championship match. And that is something that I absolutely love here. I really don't know which route they're going to go. Obviously, I can speculate and come up with cool fantasy booking things. And you guys, of course, can fantasy book. But I really just want to point out, like, WWE can literally go either way. And I think fans will be okay with it. And I think, too, the second thing is, nobody really knows what's going to happen. I like that. That's a really cool thing. Casper215 says, you even got AEW superstars looking at Raw talking about how good it is. This is true. I know I've seen a couple tweets. One that really stuck out was Jade Cargill's tweet. And of course, Cody Rhodes worked at AEW and they were friends. And, I feel like it's one of those things where AEW wrestlers are going to watch WWE. And the reality is WWE wrestlers are going to watch AEW. They got friends in either company. That doesn't matter, okay? I don't think it's a big deal. The tribalism bullshit exists on Twitter and YouTube comments and TikTok comments and Instagram comments. But I promise you guys, that is not what's happening backstage. Of course, you're going to be competitive on different brands and different companies, but you're going to support your friends. And to see AEW people come out and talk about how they support it, that's not shocking to me. Just last week, we saw WWE superstars react to what's happened on AEW Dynamite. And I think fans make it a bigger deal than it really is, because honestly, it's just really good to see that they're, out there supporting each other, and it's healthy for the business. And at the end of the day, WWE and AEW are going to be competitive businesses because they're both in the same field. But what's really important is that both of them put out a good product. And my God, AEW and WWE have been absolutely killing it lately. And it's been a really long time since I've had that feeling with both companies simultaneously getting better. But Casper is absolutely right. You definitely have AEW people looking at it, and that just tells you people enjoy what is happening here. And storytelling is massive. You guys can tell when AEW is doing stories and WWE is doing stories, people are much more happier about the product. And I think that's a big part of it. Of course, you want the good wrestling matches, but you want the storytelling to stand out. And WWE is actually doing that. And they're doing it on a week to week basis. A lot of great things being said in the chat, guys. Let's pull some comments up. Terrence Bratton says, it was a storytelling episode. They are protecting Cody and adding layers. They absolutely are. And that was actually something that was a common trend of tonight's episode. Baron Corbin and JBL is another prime example of this. Baron Corbin loses to Dexter Lumis, which was kind of shocking to me. I didn't necessarily expect that. Then you have a scenario in which JBL backstage with Corbin says you can't polish turd. He makes fun of Corbin for being a loser. And now there's more layers to this storyline. JBL, obviously, they've been doing this for 3 or 4 months. Obviously, it wasn't going to be a long-term thing. I don't know what people's expectations were, but Corbin is back to being a loser. And the best part is there's probably more storytelling to come from this. And maybe we get Baron Corbin, the lone wolf, right? Who knows what is next? Why did WWE choose to go this route? I don't know. Maybe they felt like it wasn't working. Maybe they felt they could do something better. Maybe this was the plan all along. But the cool thing is when you're doing storytelling like this, people are going to be intrigued. And now you have people who are curious about Baron Corbin and JBL. Now you have people that are very curious on what's going to happen with Montez Ford being in the Elimination Chamber. Dawkins lost tonight. Great match, by the way. But Dawkins lost tonight. Montez Ford wins. And now he's going to be in the Elimination Chamber match for the U.S. title. Again, people have been talking about a potential split between the Street Profits. That's something that people really don't, people don't know what to expect. But throughout time, that's what keeps happening. And let's talk about the Street Profits. Will the Street Profits break up? For weeks and weeks and weeks, there's small little things that they've done to kind of make you think that it could happen. Then it doesn't happen. But then they're not really trying to make it obvious, and then you have Montez Ford win a match. Maybe this is, again, more layers to a big singles push for the Street Profits. So there's a lot of cool things that I'm liking here about WWE Raw. And again, it's nothing that stands out as like, oh my gosh, this is must see, but it's the small continuity that is happening every week to keep you hooked into the storyline. And again, that payoff eventually will come, and I think that's a good thing. We did get a super chat from Terrence Bratton for $1.99. No comment associated with that, but Terrence, I appreciate the super chat. Thank you very much. We got more comments. Jacoby says, "Sup, Ango, how did you feel about Piper Niven promo backstage going after Candice and Mishan?" I loved it. I thought it was great. Obviously, WWE has some sort of emphasis on her because they had the first entrance, and then the other 2 entrances happened during commercial break in the Fatal 4-Way match. And then Piper Niven comes out to the ring with her entrance. Good showing. Carmella obviously wins the match. I mean, it makes sense as to why you put Carmella in the match. I don't think she's going to win the chamber anyways, but it does make sense. Obviously, now they're starting to build storylines outside of the women's championship belt, which I know in previous live streams, me and Albert Ponce have talked about this. He's part of the VIP access on the channel, but we've kind of spoken about this. He's kind of asked about it, and we've kind of critiqued that WWE's women's division is always strongly favored towards the women's championship, and that's where most of the stories are. It looks like WWE is starting to open the door on, at least on WWE Raw, where a championship belt isn't involved. So when you have Piper Niven backstage and she says, "Hey, if you get in my way, there's going to be issues." Like when something like that happens backstage, it kind of immediately gravitates to you that Piper Niven actually means business. And by the way, I do want to point out Piper Niven just easily since Royal Rumble, far more better and greater than Dewdrop, right? So something so simple as just the name change and not doing the stupid, Dewdrop gimmick has already been a great benefit to Piper Niven, and she's getting reactions from the crowd. So that just goes to show you that WWE is understanding where maybe things have fallen through in the past and how to fix it. So I actually like this. I like that there's something there with Candice LeRae and Nikki Cross as well. And that's been happening for a few months now. Nikki Cross is just kind of backstage and kind of being a stalker, kind of like some sanity stuff. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen there, but I am definitely intrigued for sure. Let's see what's happening. We got tons of stuff. Justin Kennington says, man, can you imagine the pop if Sammy gets his old music back in Montreal? Oh, I mean, that right there is going to be massive in its own. And, that's a move that WWE has to make, right? Do I think they're going to do it? I don't know, because sometimes music is associated with licensing and stuff. So I don't know if WWE has licenses for his old music or how that works with copyright and stuff, but I would say that Sami Zayn coming out to his old music would definitely generate a big pop. And, realistically, like Sami Zayn in Montreal is going to be massive, but then imagine the heat that Roman Reigns will get if he does defeat him. And I think that is something that's going to be a brilliant move. I know a lot of people really want Sami to win, and I become 50-50 on this, but I do believe to a certain extent, it's right now the story should not be about Sami becoming world champion. If you want to go that route 6, 7, 8 months from now, sure, you can. But the story has not been about that championship belt. Him losing to Roman Reigns generates some massive heat for Roman in Montreal. And in addition to that, I think what's going to be really cool is when Sami and Kevin Owens do reunite and win the tag team championship belts, people will be very happy about that. So, yeah, I can imagine it's going to be a pretty sick pop. That's for sure, Justin. That is absolutely for sure. Sean Ireland dropping a $1.99 super chat. Brilliant move by WWE to have Cody put over Sami. Yeah, I think selecting Cody over Sami is a brilliant move. I really do. Again, I really do think Roman Reigns is walking out of WrestleMania 39 as champion. That's just kind of how I see it. I know some people might not agree. Maybe some people don't want that, but I think there is far more value in this situation to have Roman walk out as champion. I think there is from a storytelling perspective. But of course, I do want those titles to be split up very, very soon. And I'm hoping, and I genuinely hope this happens. If you want to satisfy every fan out there, maybe you do a story at Elimination Chamber. The bloodline goes too far on Sami Zayn after the fact, and Adam Pearce splits up the championship match. He goes to Cody Rhodes on Raw and says, listen, you won the Royal Rumble. I'm going to give you the choice, the WWE Championship or Universal Championship. Cody says he wants the WWE Championship. Night 1, it's Cody versus Reigns, or maybe night 2 or something like that. I don't know. It doesn't matter what night, I guess, but you have Cody versus Roman for the WWE Championship, and then on the opposite night, you have Sami Zayn versus Roman for the Universal Championship. If you want to go that route, you can do that. But I do think it is a brilliant move for Cody to be the guy over Sami Zayn. I think right now, from a storytelling perspective, it is the thing that makes the most sense. But I also do stand very firm that maybe Roman Reigns should walk out of WrestleMania as champion. So there's a couple different ways they can do this. And I think that's the best part about this is the fact that there is literally so many different ways WWE can do this. I don't see a scenario in which I would be pissed off. Now, actually, I lied. The only scenario that would piss me off is if like Brock Lesnar fought Roman Reigns instead. But I don't see Triple H doing that because Triple H isn't an idiot. Sean Ireland, thank you for the $1.99 super chat. Appreciate it. Horo Kenru, WWE have made me okay with Cody potentially dethroning Reigns. Not that I was ever truly against that idea. I just preferred Sami. That Heyman Cody promo was fan-freaking-tastic. Yeah, I mean, when you deliver segments like that, man, it was absolutely incredible. It was definitely, just such a beautiful masterpiece. And I gotta say, I gotta kind of point this out too, because this is to WWE's credit. Honestly, to WWE's credit, Roman Reigns is now involved in 2 top storylines going into WrestleMania. And both guys that he's in a storyline with are absolutely over. The storyline with Cody is beautiful, and the storyline with Sami Zayn is absolutely beautiful. So I don't know if WWE did that intentionally or not. I don't know if that was their plan all along. I don't know if they're just riding the wave, but they are creating masterpiece. I don't know. They're creating a freaking masterpiece of television. It's literally a great segment. And it's not just Cody and Roman and Heyman, right? Like, that's intriguing. but they've been nailing everything with Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns. So it's like, literally, I just don't think you could go a wrong way. You really can't. I don't think there's a move that would piss people off because both stories are great. And it's just a beautiful thing to see that WWE has been so laser focused. And again, it's the little details. It is the promos. And just so you guys know, traditionally, I don't care for long promo segments. I've never really been a guy that cares. I like, hey, cut a promo in the ring, set up your match, set up your story. But segments like this is exactly what WWE needed. And, I feel like it's absolutely massive that WWE just continues to do this even after WrestleMania. We got a beautiful comment here. Al Gran Santu says, Ango, what do you think about the Hurt Business coming back together? I mean, I love it. But this is a story that's been in progress, right? And WWE is not necessarily hiding it. You see the Hurt Business pick up a win tonight, but you see them backstage talking with MVP. You have MVP running to the ring with them against the Alpha Academy, and they win the match. And obviously, Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar segment tonight was also beautiful. It was a really good segment. Babyface Brock Lesnar cutting a promo the way that he did tonight was awesome. And he had definitely said some stuff on the mic that garnished a big reaction, which, by the way, it is interesting to see that Brock Lesnar is able to be such a great babyface because for so long he's just been such a freaking beast incarnate that like you almost forget that this guy was just playing a character because for so long he's just been this big guy that beats people up and he never talks, he never shows personality. Now he's showing personality. Bobby Lashley comes out, Brock Lesnar hits him with an F5. The crowd goes nuts. They ask for another one. He does another one. He gets out of the ring. I'm so geeked about this match, and I love watching Brock Lesnar involved in storylines that don't involve the World Championship. It's not that I hate Brock Lesnar, but for so many years you got Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, it became so redundant and it just felt so forced. And I think that was one big issue that Vince McMahon just could not fix. Triple H has managed to make Brock Lesnar very appealing without going for a world championship. I think we see the Hurt Business help Bobby Lashley at Elimination Chamber. At Elimination Chamber, we get Brock Lesnar, Bobby Lashley. Brock Lesnar's gotten to do some damage. Ref bump happens. The Hurt Business comes out. Maybe Omos goes and joins the Hurt Business, goes face-to-face with Brock Lesnar, takes him out. That would be a very cool visual, by the way. Like, imagine this idea. Omos comes out to help Bobby Lashley and the Hurt Business take out Brock Lesnar at Elimination Chamber. I know people don't like Omos, but the thing is, it would be a really cool visual to see Brock Lesnar for once actually feel at a disadvantage. I think his facial reactions and everything to it, going face-to-face with Omos and Omos taking him out, helping Bobby Lashley win, you have a new and improved version of the Hurt Business. Omos, Shelton Benjamin, Cedric Alexander, Bobby Lashley, MVP. I mean, that right there has money all on it. That is something I would 100% support. And it's a cool way to help Bobby Lashley get a big win over Brock Lesnar. And again, they would be a heel faction, so it's definitely justifiable. Absolutely loved it. Lucas Thomas says, Ango, how do you feel about male models signing to Raw? Is that to get them a storyline? And did you like Boogs, Rick Boogs with The Miz tonight? I did. There's something about Rick Boogs I like. I understand he's not everybody's cup of tea, but there is something that I do like about him. I think maybe certain things need to be toned down a little bit with him, but he just oozes charisma. He could be a really good star for WWE in the future. I think he's going to get really over with the fans. Just like how we saw Elias get over years ago, just like how we saw Miro get over, just like how we saw We the People get over. There are certain characters that maybe WWE doesn't actually plan on getting over or plan on making them successful. Rick Boogs is one of those guys where I think the fans will just automatically cling on to him. So we'll see him and The Miz next week. Hopefully WWE doesn't screw that up because it's really important that they actually make Rick Boogs more than just a comedy act. As far as the male model signing to Raw, yeah, I think that's definitely a way to get them in a storyline. Obviously, Otis joining Maximum Male Models could be really interesting. Who knows the route that they go with this? That's what I kind of predict, just kind of based on what we're seeing with TV and stuff in general. But yeah, Maximum Male Model signing to Raw, I think it makes more sense. And, here's the thing, man. WWE's in a situation right now as it stands. they need to put people on television and use them every week. And SmackDown, it's a little bit harder to do that because they're a 2-hour show. So that is something that people need to keep in mind. Definitely, they need to keep that in mind. Justin Kennington says, "Hey Ango, do you think Triple H can fix Johnny Wrestling and make him more relevant than he is now?" No, this is not an issue. So I think a lot of people are wondering what the hell's going on here. He's not buried. He's not screwed. Johnny Wrestling is not relatively known to the main roster audience. He's on TV. He's associated with Dexter Lumis, who beat Baron Corbin. It's going to happen within time. And I think you got to keep in mind too, Ciampa is still out. I think once Ciampa returns, I think that's when we're going to see something really special with Triple H at the helm of things. But, in the meantime, have them on TV, have people get a little bit familiar with them. This is not an overnight project for WWE. For Triple H, I don't think he has to do anything differently right now. But there will become a time where they have to do something a little bit different. So if I'm WWE, that would be the route that I go. Just keep them on TV, keep them fresh. We see him and Candice LeRae. WWE is not trying to sell you on Johnny Gargano being something that he's not. And I like that about WWE right now. Why would you rush Johnny Gargano into a championship picture? Why would you rush him into something that he doesn't necessarily need right now? He doesn't need to be a champion right now. He doesn't need to be in the main event right now. There's a lot of great things happening in the main event scene. And that's why I don't think Johnny Gargano has failed yet. Now, that cannot be the same 6 months from now, 7 months from now, 8 months from now, if that makes sense. Ryan Jeffrey says, "Do you think they should bring Ezekiel back?" No, I do not, actually. I like the Ezekiel gimmick, but I think if I had a preference between him and Elias, I would prefer Elias for sure. Trevin State says, "I'm glad Dexter Lumis and Johnny G got a reaction tonight. And what do you think about JBL leaving Corbin to the curb?" Yeah, so I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. But I would say that, Corbin getting left behind with JBL, and I kind of mentioned this before, but was this the plan all along? Corbin's great. He's a hell of a talent. He's a little bit old school with fundamentals and understands a lot of selling and just things that matter in the psychology of a ring, of a performance in the ring. I think Corbin being left behind by JBL hopefully leads to a really badass Corbin. No bullshit money. His theme song was ass. I hated his theme song, and it's not his fault, obviously, but he's just so good. And I actually like the character, and I like the fact that he's losing matches and stuff. But I think if you're going to have him be this incredible beast like he was before, I would rather see him do that solo without the help of JBL, to be honest. So there's a lot of things that they can do. Keep in mind, he's always been the lone wolf. And the minute that he was not the lone wolf was the minute that you start seeing Baron Corbin start losing and not being as good as before. So I think there's a lot of cool things that WWE can do here. As far as Dexter Lumis and Johnny Gargano go, within time, people will still get behind it. And Dexter Lumis is a hell of a talent, and he's got a character, and there's something that they could do there. Maybe they bring in Indy Hartwell for the way. Who knows? Maybe Theory loses the U.S. title, becomes babyface, and joins the way. I don't know. There's a lot of continuity and storylines they can do with that. What pay-per-views or PLEs do you think Triple H bring back this year? I hope they bring back No Mercy or Unforgiven. There's a couple that have been rumored. I kind of talked about it on the channel before. With Hell in a Cell essentially being replaced, I would love to see No Way Out. And that was one that was rumored before, was No Way Out would return. I think it just takes a little bit of time for WWE to actually reveal it. You know what I mean? They kind of reveal a pay-per-view a month or two in advance. So we'll see what route WWE goes. Personally speaking, I don't like the idea of Extreme Rules. I don't like the idea of Money in the Bank. I don't like the idea of some of these pay-per-views, but ultimately that's just because I think gimmick matches should be on WrestleMania. They should be at pay-per-views themselves or PLEs or whatever. So this is one of those things where No Way Out could be a great thing. Have a Hell in a Cell match there. Perhaps you could do a Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania. There's a lot of things that you can do in that regard. So I don't know which other ones I'd predict. I like Unforgiven. I like No Mercy. I would like to see something even new, man. It would not be a bad idea for WWE to create a brand new pay-per-view in general. Um, a lot of great things tonight on Raw. What did you guys think though overall on Raw? Did you guys enjoy the show? Was there anything you guys disliked about the show? Um, for me, I thought Lita returning was pretty cool. And just one final thought on Lita too. Um, you know, Lita coming back to WWE as a surprise is cool, but is it long term? I think that's a big question that a lot of people need to kind of ask because, if you're going to set up a program for Elimination Chamber or WrestleMania, that's fantastic. But can you do something with her a little bit long term so she just doesn't feel like a part time player? That's really key and really important. Um, a lot of you guys are really judging tonight's Raw 8 out of 10, 10 out of 10. Um, so I mean, it seems like everybody's pretty solid. Justin Kennington says, talk about Chelsea Green's character. Raw was a solid 8 out of 10. I love Chelsea Green's character. I know some people don't like it, but again, it's so logical, man. It is so logical. And the best part is I think WWE is in a spot right now with Chelsea Green, kind of like Johnny Gargano and Dexter Loomis. You just need people to get familiarized with them, put them on TV, let them be this character. Chelsea Green plays the character so well. And I think that's the best part about Chelsea Green is like you don't need to rush her for a women's championship. You can have her lose a match and it doesn't matter. Like I don't want to see anybody saying Chelsea Green is buried because ultimately she's not being buried, right? In this situation, she's a Karen. She's okay to lose. That's part of the character and owning the character and being really good with the character. So, in my opinion, I think this definitely works out in her favor long term. Eventually, it's going to get to the point where people are really going to get annoyed with her, just like they did with Vicky Guerrero. And I think that's going to be really huge. Do you think we'll get the hot mess character in WWE? I do. And actually, I think you can get the hot mess character transitioned from Karen. Eventually, when Chelsea Green's done being a Karen, she could be a hot mess. There is a really good way to transition the character. So I'm excited about that. I think that's like a really good thing for WWE to just, again, you don't want to do the hot mess character right now because that's not going to get over with the fans just yet. But by Chelsea Green doing this character for several months, maybe even for the next year or so, the Karen character could get to the point where people hate her so much that when she does the hot mess character, it's also very over. At that point, people will just like Chelsea Green and it'll be really good. You don't think her being in the Rumble for only 5 minutes hurt Chelsea or no? She was only in there for like 2 seconds. No, it absolutely didn't. Because one, it was her return. Two, there's no point in trying to make her look strong when she's a Karen. In order for the Karen gimmick to work, she needs something to complain about. So, of course, she goes into the Rumble, big return, right? And then immediately she comes back and the locker room doesn't have the chocolate that she wants. It doesn't have what she wants, the water, this, that, whatever, all of these different things. For Chelsea Green to be in the Rumble for 5 seconds and to lose and then not treated like a big star, there's some irony there. But again, it's just part of the character. It's just part of the storyline. And I promise you guys, I can certainly tell you guys with a lot of confidence that will not actually hurt Chelsea Green in the sense of being able to generate heat. In fact, I think it actually helps her. If Chelsea Green was a Karen and constantly winning matches, what is there to complain about? What is there to have resentment for the fans about? Like there's no way that it works if you're just stacking up wins. But if Chelsea Green is constantly losing, constantly getting screwed over, constantly complaining, she becomes an annoyance. And that right there will factor into something really special with that audience. And they will get really pissed and eventually hate her. And that's exactly what you need to do. And that's why having a strong character works. This will work for them. This will definitely work for WWE. Richard says Piper Niven should have won 4-way, not Carmella. I don't disagree. Honestly, you could have gone with Michin. You could have gone with anybody. Like Mia Yim could have easily won. You could have had Piper Niven. You could have had Candice LeRae. Carmella just returned. Piper Niven just returned from the name change. This is one of those things where it just really depends on which route they want to go. I would personally like to see Asuka win the women's championship. So that's just my personal opinion. I don't know which route they're going to go. Piper Niven's great. More of what we saw tonight from Piper Niven is going to be super beneficial. A lot of people will enjoy seeing that from Piper Niven. So for me, I think this is actually a really good move for WWE. Super exciting to see that WWE, even though I'm not too thrilled about Carmella winning, I'm glad that there is a storyline now that doesn't involve the women's championship. And it's a pretty big storyline. Piper Niven's backstage segment really sealed the deal for people to get behind that storyline. Tony Coco says WWE is about getting over as a character and thriving in these roles. It's not dependent on winning titles. Absolutely. And that's a big difference between them and AEW and New Japan and all these other companies. Now, everybody's going to have their own preference. And I do believe this is the right route to go. But that's just because I view wrestling like a movie. I look at wrestling as watching a TV series, and the storylines and the characters are probably the most important part to anything that you watch. If you're watching a movie and you're watching Brad Pitt play a shitty ass character, I don't think you're going to care about the movie, right? But if you see people playing characters and it's getting over, and you're cheering or you're booing these characters, I think that's what WWE cares about. They say it all the time. As long as you're getting people to make noise, that's what matters. And obviously people are going to pop for winning championships, but I think Kofi Kingston was the perfect example. Kofi won the WWE championship. WWE dropped the ball. Granted, that was a Vince McMahon move. But WWE did that, and he didn't really have a plan for Kofi, and the thing is, Kofi has an amazing character and Kofi's an amazing wrestler. So I think that's the beauty of what we're seeing with Triple H. It's like, hey, we're going to establish these characters. We're going to do these little details, the Easter eggs. We're going to tease things. We're going to make your characters evolve over time. They're going to go through different things within time that eventually will lead to a payoff. And I think Triple H does value championship belts. So I could see Triple H in a situation where he does, in fact, actually go and makes the wrestling portion and winning titles matter, obviously. But the first and foremost, the moneymaker is the characters. So I think Triple H is going to be that perfect guy to kind of bring both sides together. It's about winning titles and it's about having characters. And within time, eventually, when you win that character or when you win that championship, having a strong character will be a result as to why you won the championship. Let's see. Who gets called up first, Carmelo or Braun? Braun. I think Braun's done after Stand and Deliver. Eric L says that comment is why Roman isn't losing at WrestleMania. Nobody better telling stories than Roman right now. Absolutely. I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree with that for sure. A lot of great things. It's a lot of great things that WWE is just doing with Roman Reigns. They've pretty much nailed it, and I give them a lot of props, honestly, for how they've done that. Rex Steiner, by the way, I see the comment. I can't find it right now, but I saw somebody comment something about Braun Breaker being Rex Steiner. He said himself publicly, whether it's true or not, I don't know, but he did publicly say he did not want to have Rex Steiner as his name because of the fact that he didn't want to use that as a way to get him over. And I agree with that. Braun Breaker is kind of a dumb name, but like over time, it just works. I think I've gotten so accustomed to it where I don't even hate it. So it really just depends. But yeah, man, we just did a little bit over 45 minutes, guys. It's almost midnight. I'm not going to keep you guys here much longer. If you're watching live, if you're watching video on demand, I appreciate you guys watching. I think we'll call it a night. I think it's the perfect time to call it a night. I appreciate everybody for stopping by. And I'll be back live tomorrow night. So thank you all for sticking with me. Thank you everybody for dropping comments. And thank you for the super chats. And thank you to everybody who's become a member. And thank you to everybody who's subscribed. I greatly appreciate you guys. I'll see you next time.